So I have to admit, I was skeptical of distance Reiki. I've been a Reiki practitioner for close to 15 years at this point, and I still questioned if the benefits really worked. And for those of you that know me as a yoga instructor, keep in mind that I actually started training in Reiki, so energy work, before I did my yoga training. So I've been at this for a very long time, and I was still a skeptic. And I'm a believer in a lot of things. I've had amazing Akashic Records readings. I've been to psychics. I grew up sort of dabbling in astrology and numerology. I love human design, and I'm all of that stuff. But for Reiki, for me, I really trusted what I could feel and experience, what was right in front of me. I knew if I had a body in front of me, if I was working on a particular person, I could feel with my own hands what was happening within their body and how their body was processing that energy. But when it came to distance and working with someone who is even outside of my community, my province, even outside of the country, I wasn't sold that that would work or have the same benefits for somebody. But it wasn't until the pandemic hit and we were all in lockdown that my perspective began to change. I was teaching yoga online. At the time, everything went online. And I felt like my community and my friends and family needed something a little bit deeper. This was something that we hadn't experienced before. And I felt like yoga just wasn't cutting it. Yes, it brought us together in community, but a lot of us were in that deep need of healing, connection, and support. There was a lot of fear and uncertainty, especially at that time. And as much as I didn't believe, as much as I had that voice or that skeptic inside of my head, I knew that I had to try. And to be honest, the benefits blew me away. What is Reiki anyway? Reiki is a hands-on healing practice that originated in Japan by Mikao Usui in the mid-1800s. It allowed universal life force energy to bring a gentle balance to a person's body, mind, and spirit. So this is thought to promote healing on all levels. In a traditional practice, a client lays or sits down fully clothed, and the Reiki practitioner or master will lay their hands on that person or hover them just above to connect to the various layers of the auric field. The client will experience warmth, cooling, or tingling sensations that often sink into a deeply restful state during a session. The energy gently helps to shift energy, remove emotional blockages, connect a person to a deeper spiritual state, and even promote physical healing. While many believe that it must be done in person to receive the full benefits, this work can be done by afar too. Energy is not limited by time or distance, and it's fully possible to experience the exact same benefits. Whether in person or via distance, most people report to have more clarity. They feel lighter in both their mind and their body. The benefits continue to integrate even after a session is completed. So, coincidentally or not, I had begun my official path to become a Reiki master 1 month before the initial lockdown of 2020. Like I said, I had been practicing for a long time already, but I didn't have that urge to really take the next step until about 2018. And it's interesting because I did have that feeling inside of me that things were not going to be the same old anymore. Things were going to be changing, and I was being called to step up and be more and do more and offer more. And I felt like my time as a yoga instructor was very much coming to an end, or it wasn't going to be the only thing that I was doing. So tentatively, during the initial lockdown period of 2020, I began offering distance sessions. I had that need to support others if they needed it. It was a pay what you can scale. I knew a lot of people were out of work or weren't really sure when their next paycheck was coming. So I was doing it in the best way that I could. But I have to say, without the ability of having a person in front of me, at the time I was really still skeptical, and I had to just step into a place of trust that this would have the same benefit and people were going to feel the difference after this session, even though we weren't in the same space, in the same city, or in some cases, even the same province or country. My sessions at the time were quite simple. I began with a short 3-card oracle reading using the Sacred Tree for All Seasons Tarot by one of my teachers, Danny Lin. These cards are based on traditional Chinese medicine philosophy, or TCM. So I could bring insight into what was out of balance. It could be emotional, mental, spiritual aspects that needed to be supported. And then I followed up this reading by a 45-minute distance Reiki session in which I would support the various meridians or lines of energy in the body to bring more harmony throughout the whole system. And I witnessed emotional releases through tears, a beautiful sign that stuck energy is moving. Often people's pets would join during the session. And there was also that feeling of clarity and groundedness and presence that followed, which would be so similar to what most people experience in person. So gradually, I began to build my trust in conducting distance sessions. I had such great feedback, and I also was able to intuitively feel in my hands what many people could feel in person. So my Reiki sessions have changed just a little bit since that time. We still connect over Zoom, and you can join from any comfortable place in your home or even in your yard as long as your Wi-Fi connection reaches. So we begin with a combination tarot and oracle reading. So it's a lot more in depth. It's about 20 to 30 minutes at this point. And it brings you a lot more clarity into what is happening in your life, where you are, and what your challenges are. And so sometimes seeing your situation that much more clearly, you already begin to get some insight into what some of your next steps might be or how to bring that situation to a resolution. And the cards will also bring you some advice and your next steps as well. So already you're feeling a little bit clearer. You might have next steps. You might even feel a little bit more excitement. So once we are able to wrap up that reading, all you have to do is relax. And you can turn your video off at this point. And as long as you can hear me, I don't need to be able to see you. So I begin to tune into your energy and tap into the Reiki energy. I call in your guides, your ancestors, your angels, and anyone that is there in your healing, your protection, or for your support. And I also hold you in that sphere of energetic protection. So you will often start to already feel a little bit of warmth or tingling within your body. And through the remainder of the session, I lead you through a meditative journey. So encouraging you to connect to your energetic roots, connecting to the earth, or even connecting to your own intuition or wisdom. Each time I go through this, it's a little bit different based on the person or what cards came up, and they all inspire that journey. You might feel like you're just drifting off into a deep meditation or a restful sleep. If you do fall asleep during this session, it's perfectly okay. Sometimes when you fall asleep, it's actually better when your conscious mind is able to turn off a little bit, and your subconscious and your body can just do what it needs to do so you can heal in the deepest way possible. So following this session, I share with you any insights I might have had, and you also have the opportunity to share if there's anything that came up for you, or if you had any questions that you want to ask, or anything that you experienced that might actually be that you want a little bit more clarity on. And I'll typically send you a photo of the cards and any of the main points that we talked about that you may want to remember. Sometimes I even have reflection questions for you if I feel like that's important for your situation. And I find that even after, it's best that you, if you have that opportunity, give yourself the time and space to rest, just so you can integrate the energy. And you'll find too that often even life outside of you will begin to shift. So as your energy within your body begins to shift and come to a greater alignment, things outside of you will change too. So you will begin to attract things that are within the same frequency or resonance or alignment as you. So don't be surprised if you begin to feel better in the coming days, and even life outside begins to shift for you as well. So what are the benefits of distance Reiki or Reiki in general? And it works on different levels, and I find that the effects are really limitless. For my own personal experience, I find more so that as my energy shifts, I find that things shift in the world around me. But a lot of people feel things physically, especially if they do have physical ailments. It could be mentally, they feel clear in their mind, or maybe it's harder for them to access those negative thoughts following the session. It could be emotionally, especially letting go of emotional baggage, or they might feel like they're more in tune with their spiritual selves as well. So the effects aren't just on a superficial level. And so these are just a few of the outcomes that people typically follow. It could be finding clarity in life. It could be reducing stress or overwhelm that you feel on a regular basis. It could be that you feel more calm and grounded in your body, or you're more able to overcome your current challenges, recharging after a period of feeling really, really burned out, digestive issues, or healing past traumas, or even working towards that. There's so many different ways that our bodies react, and I find that it's very individual as to what a particular person is going through. So I find that most of my clients are more on the empathic and sensitive spectrum. And for empaths especially, no matter what you think of that, I really do believe that, especially if I look to my own history, it comes from a place of past trauma. We become more open and less boundaried, so we can feel the energy around us and the energy of others, so we can make sure that we're safe. And if we take on other people's stuff, emotions, and their overwhelm, if they're feeling better, it's less likely that we will be safer. But we begin to, we basically learn to become an emotional sponge. So often what I help people do is to help shed that emotional overwhelm that they're carrying, because a lot of it doesn't belong to them anyway. And when they feel less emotionally overwhelmed, when they feel less burdened, when they begin to even feel like they even have a greater energetic boundary themselves, they can begin to feel better and better and actually stronger in themselves, and have a greater belief in themselves. So if this resonates with you, know that energy work, especially as a sensitive person, is really, really important. And if you found that there's a lot of things that didn't work for you, doing some sort of energy work or energy healing might actually be that more subtle shift that you really need. So if you are looking for someone to help support you, if you do identify as that empathic or sensitive person, maybe finding someone who really understands what an empath goes through, even on a daily basis, to help them or to help you shift some of that over emotional sensitivity. So help you to restore your own boundaries and let go of some of the weight that you might be carrying. It can make a huge difference. So distance sessions now are actually my preferred choice after seeing the benefits over these past 2 years. Although I still do in-person sessions, I actually find there often to be a benefit when someone actually can stay in their own home and be in their most comfortable place without any worry about being in my energy or how they're showing up in person, especially if there are tears or there needs to be an emotional release. Some people I do know well and they're comfortable, crying in front of me or going through that experience. But sometimes being in your own private space can allow you to feel comfortable moving through those emotions. And I understand that it's so easy to feel stuck in life, especially right now. It feels like the world is constantly shifting and changing, and often it feels like we can't keep up. But going through energy work is a way that we can help ourselves stay grounded and clearer and release those heavy emotions and past trauma that isn't really serving us. And when you're clear, it's so much easier to move forward and even have life come to you, right? So if you think of manifestation, the clearer we are and the more certain we are about what we want and what we deserve, it becomes a simpler process. So if you are feeling drawn to book with me, if you are in need of support, if you are a very sensitive person, and again, the typical things just haven't been working for you, maybe some energy work is something that you need to help bring you clarity, to help release some of those emotions and things that you're carrying that are just in your way. And remember that so much of it isn't yours anyway. So the link is below if you'd like to book a session with me. And if you have any questions or comments, anything that you'd like to share, please leave a comment below. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for listening in.